Officer J here, back with another video. Today we're going to be covering 3 popular police myths. They're either myths because people believe them and they're completely false, or people believe a certain thing and don't understand the reason behind it, and it's not exactly what you would think. So we're going to start off with a little lighthearted one. 1, police and donuts. Police do like donuts. They also like a variety of other foods. Main reason why that myth started was because way back when, long before I was born and a lot of other officers were born, there were a lot of stores that weren't open 24 hours. You know, there wasn't always a Waffle House or IHOP or even 24-hour gas stations. But donut shops opened early, or they were 24 hours. So at the time, especially for your night or your early comers for the police departments, you had a donut shop being the only thing that was open. So you had your officers that were trying to get some type of food and was also trying to get coffee, because most donut shops will also serve coffee. So the donut shops offered a nutritional value of, you can get coffee and a sugary treat, something to help you to stay awake, or just something to eat just because there's nothing else to be eaten. That's myth number 1. Myth number 2, traffic citations. In most states, I'm pretty sure all of them, but I won't speak for all of them because I don't want to be handing out false information. There's no quota on traffic citations. Quotas are illegal. If you were to try to tell an officer, hey, I need you to write 100 tickets every month, otherwise you would be punished or demoted, or your pay would be docked, that would be illegal. You can't set a quota for many reasons. 1, it makes police officers write violations that aren't really there, kind of forcing them to be in a situation where they're like, hey, I'm only doing this not for the public safety, but because if I don't do this, I won't have a job. And that leads into that second point, about the public safety. Traffic citations aren't to, yes, they generate funds for multitudes of things. It's at the state level, at a city level, at the parish or county level, depending on what state you live in. But mainly it's for safety, such as window tint. Window tint. At night it's dark, it's hard to see. You can't, wrecks do happen because people did not see a car coming because the tint was too dark. Same thing with, like, this is a less written ticket, but like tires that stick out past the fender well without the proper, like, mud guards. It slings rocks, it cracks windows. All these traffic violations, there's a reason why they're violations. Speeding, we're like, oh, well, it's only 7 miles over. Well, 7 miles over in like a residential area where the speed limit is 25 or 15 is a lot, because speed limits are set by the car's ability to stop in a safe amount of time. And every mile over is not just 1 mile over. There's a percentage of, like, okay, if it takes 5 seconds to come to a complete stop at this speed, 1 mile over might take that 5 seconds and turn it into 7 seconds. And then 2 miles might turn that 5 seconds into like 10. So it has like a doubling effect. You would think it would be 9, but it's actually 10. And then 1 mile over, it's just exponentially grows. So those are the reasons why, like I said, speed laws are set. And I say all this to say that, it is in the public's best interest for traffic to be enforced. A lot of people also say, well, when the cops set up on certain roads, they see them from a mile away, they're not catching people because they can see them, or they're hiding. The thing is, whenever you see a cop like sitting on the side of an interstate, it's not really about catching somebody doing something. A lot of times it's just about the officer's presence. If you're on the side of, let's just say, Interstate 10, and there's a state trooper parked there, and you can see the car from, let's say, a half a mile away, and you slow down, well, they can say for that half mile to a mile down the road, because they usually try to park in what's an area that, people speed in, usually around an exit or something, or an on-ramp. They'll say, hey, for that half mile to a mile stretch, we can ensure that road was safe because people seen a police car there and they slowed down. So that officer presence, yeah, they didn't get a citation, but as far as ensuring safety, it accomplished that. So the third police myth would have to be just basic crime scene. Hawaii 5-0, NCIS, Law and Order, CSI, Chicago PD. Those are all good shows. They're great for entertainment. The only thing is, they don't really show you how a lot of crime scenes are analyzed and preserved. Yeah, they show you like, oh well, we found this, we found that. Not every crime scene. I mean, very few crime scenes are you gonna go to and find like, oh, this must be the suspect's hair. I know like in a lot of Law and Order things, they're like, oh, the suspect used the restroom before leaving. Let's swab the toilet. Like that usually doesn't happen. A lot of crimes are quick. They are, opportunity. So they do this and they hurry up and get out. But, for instance, stuff like fingerprints, a lot of people are like, oh, you can lift fingerprints and this and that. Like, in some cases you can. Not every surface will preserve a fingerprint. Not every surface, every surface will preserve your DNA, but you also have to have something to compare it to. Like, I'm pretty sure if somebody breaks into a car and I go and swap the steering wheel, I'm going to pull DNA off of it. No ifs, ands, buts about it. You can send it to the lab. They're going to ask for reference samples. They're like, okay, we're going to need a sample of everybody that touched that vehicle's steering wheel within the last week. And if you ask why, they're going to be like, well, because their DNA is going to be on it. So we have to rule them out of the suspect. So you'd have to rule out the owner's spouse, any kids, any potential car wash people, whatever. That's not the problem. But even if you were to find, let's say, some DNA that's like, hey, we have a match. We're not a match, but we have some DNA that didn't belong into any of the reference samples that you gave us. They're like, but it's not in the system. So you have DNA now that's in the system, but you have nothing to compare it to. So you're still, at a blank right there. But I say all that to say, people watch CSI and they're like, oh, well, they do this, they do that. Within 20 minutes of an episode, they know who the killer is or who the thief is, and they're solving the crimes. A lot of times, crimes rely on eyewitness testimonies or the public to say, hey, we saw this and that was going on. And in most cases, not in real life, public doesn't want to help you. The public will be like, hey, look, I don't want to get involved for many reasons. Sometimes they just don't want to get involved, They in fear of retaliation, in fear if they just don't want to be associated with the crime, they don't want to show up to court. But the thing is this, if people don't say what they saw, a lot of times crimes will go unsolved. Mainly because, like I said, it's not we don't have a magic 8 ball. We can't just say on December 21st, 2020, this and that happened by this and that person. We just don't know. A lot of our times is us going door to door. Hey, did you see anything? Anything can help. It doesn't have to be this major. Oh, I saw such and such do this with a gun or with a crowbar. It could be something as simple as, hey, I don't know who the guy was, but I can tell you he was in a red Chevy Impala. And then we could probably go from there, like looking at cameras, like, hey, I didn't see anything, but I have cameras, and at that point it's like, oh, okay, there's a red Chevy Impala and it's traveling in this direction at this time. And then we can kind of just follow it and follow it and follow it with people that have cameras and see if we can finally get a location, and then maybe get a license plate and try to identify the owner of the vehicle, who can probably lead us to who was in the car if it wasn't the owner. That's a long story, but these things happen. There's more to it. I'm going to make more videos about that, especially about like preserving crime scenes. But just to recap, 3 police myths we covered today: cops and donuts, traffic citations, and crime scene preservation. But other than that, you guys like and subscribe.